It's 1985, and the people in and around Los Angeles are on high alert. They know now there is a serial killer on the loose, and the police don't have any leads yet. With the wake of gore and violence not seen in 8 years since the Hillside Strangler, and one eyewitness in this killer's wake, the LAPD has started working around the clock to try and bring this psycho to justice.
Welcome to Tales from the Graves, where shadows lurk and whispers echo.
Join us as we delve into the unknown, exploring tales of mystery, horror, and the supernatural.
Be prepared to journey into the darkness, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Jess.
Together, we're the Grave Sisters, and we'll be your guides as we unearth the strange and unusual.
So find your flashlight, grab your shovel, and let's dig in.
The following podcast is rated for mature audiences.
It may contain graphic scenes of violence and explicit language that some may find disturbing.
Listener discretion is advised. Hey Gravediggers, and welcome to part 2 of our Night Stalker, I guess, two-parter or something? I don't know. There is a lot to cover, so we're probably just gonna dig right on in.
Take a potty break before you actually get started.
Yeah, no, I've got a ton of information because Jess kept saying, we're not doing any more than 2-parters. We're not doing more than 2 parts.
I don't see the point of having more than 2 episodes. Then it's a whole series. I'm like, nope, 2 parts, done.
All right, well, fine. Then I guess when we do our big name serial killers, we'll just have to, decide to do a short series or something on them because some of these guys are super, just friggin' prolific. Whatever that word is.
Prophylactic? Just kidding.
No.
Prolific. I gotcha.
Yes,
I gotcha.
Yes, that word. This has not been my week. So it's been kind of
So, where did we leave off last time?
So, we left off last time just as our police force have kind of determined that they are dealing with a serial killer.
Okay.
They don't necessarily know the extent of the crimes, but they're like, this stuff's a little hinky dinky, a little fishy wishy kind of deal. So that's where we left off. And let's see.
We learned about him whenever he was young, how he had a creepo for
Yeah.
an uncle, how he'd been abused, and then how it pretty much started with him being a creeper peeper, like a peeping Tom into
A
other
peeping
people's.
Tom.
And then he worked at the Holiday Inn. He broke into people's hotel rooms and snatched stuff, and then we talked about a few of the victims, and then how the detectives started putting puzzle pieces together, and then they were like, oh shit, we have a serial killer, looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we stopped, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we know that the Night Stalker had many adult victims, but I don't know if everybody knows that he also had children victims. These happened, for the most part, between February and March of 1985. And there were a series of abductions in Montebello, Monterey Park, and Glassell Park. All the children were sexually assaulted and then later abandoned. So he was he was perfectly fine being a pedo, you know, and stealing kids and doing things to them, which was disgusting.
Yeah.
But he did not kill them. One of these children was Anastasia. I don't know if I can pronounce her name. Hornas? She was abducted from her home at 6 years old. And when she was abducted, she recalled that, like, he came through the window and he kind of seemed familiar to her. Not like oh, she's seen him before, more of he kind of reminded her of her uncle. And so she didn't necessarily put up any type of struggle.
Ugh, how creepy was her uncle then?
Girl, I don't know. But she was Mexican or Latina, and so was Richard Ramirez.
Yeah.
So that may have been her thinking about it.
Okay.
Ramirez drove them around, and he had her open the glove compartment so that she could see there was a gun in there. And he was like, just so you know, that's there. And at that point, Anastasia's like, oh no. Oh no.
Okay, yeah. I'd be like, all right, well, I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah. When he stopped the car, he made her get into a duffel bag. Like, I don't know how big this duffel bag was, but she was around like 6 to 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he made her get into this duffel bag, and he zipped it up, and he carried her inside somewhere. When he released her from the duffel bag, Anastasia recalls that the apartment he took her to was just messy and gross. There was like fast food stuff everywhere, and trash and cigarette butts. And it was there that she was raped repeatedly by Ramirez.
Ugh.
Yeah. In episode 1 of like the Night Stalker series on Netflix, you actually get to see an interview with her, and she obviously goes into a lot more detail, but she said that there would be times that I'd ask him to stop, that I had to go to the bathroom, and he would stop, he would pick her up, and he would just sit her on the kitchen sink to go to the bathroom.
Well, I mean, that's very brave of her to even go on camera and talk about this stuff, though.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be able to relive that stuff over and over.
Mm-hmm. So, like, eventually nothing would happen. And so he would just take her back and he would start assaulting her again. And this went on for a while. Eventually, when he was finished, he had her get back into the duffel bag, and then he took her back down to the car. Ramirez let her out, and they drove around to a gas station, and he instructed her to go inside and tell the attendant to call the police and have her family come get her.
So wait, I mean, why would he just let her go?
I don't know why he would just let her go. That's probably getting into more of like the psychological aspect of him being abused as a child and everything that happened there, as well as like just how early he was kind of sexualized by his cousin Miguel, with Miguel showing him porn and all of that stuff
he did while he was a nom.
Yeah. So we're probably getting into a lot of the more psychological aspects of what happened to Richard Ramirez as a child. But we can see that, you know, besides the first victim that we discussed, which was a young Chinese girl, that they found her body there doesn't seem to be a whole lot in the way of children that he killed. Assaulted, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those, but not necessarily murdered, especially in the brutal fashion that I'm going to talk about, especially today.
Go ahead and give me that trigger warning, y'all.
Yeah, trigger warning. So, the detective who was working one of the murders, Gil Carrillo, was looking at all the crimes that happened, around the area of that murder. And that's when he started finding the child abductions, where the child was abducted, assaulted, and then abandoned. And more importantly, he discovered that the description of Anastasia's kidnapper and the eyewitness description gave by Maria Hernandez were almost the exact same.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of similarities. And at the time, it wasn't common for a serial killer to also assault children. And that's not like, serial killers don't do that. It's more of a, this is what we've seen so far with his victim profile. And these don't fit that particular parameters. So Richard Ramirez had a very large, discrepancy with the victims. Because so far, for the most part, he's done older people.
So he's just spreading it out.
Yes. And it was around this time that Gil Carrillo and a more well-known homicide detective, Frank Salerno,
I think Salerno. Yeah.
Salerno, became partners. On May 14th, Ramirez returned to Monterey Park, and there he broke into the home of Bill Doy, 66, and his wife, Lillian, 56. He surprised Bill Doy in his bedroom and shot him in the face with the same .22 he had previously used in the other murders and assaults. Ramirez then proceeded to beat him to unconsciousness and went for Lillian. She was in her own separate bedroom, and there Ramirez bound her with thumb cuffs and raped her. Ramirez ransacked the Doy home, and seeing pictures of their home after he got done with it, it looks like a tornado went through there, man.
Like he just threw crap everywhere. It was
Yeah.
just anything he could find that he could just snatch, basically, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he was doing. It's believed that Bill had saved his wife's life by being able to call 911 at some point. And, he, however, died of his injuries while in the hospital. But he was able to save his wife.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But, dang.
On May 29th, just 2 weeks later, Ramirez stopped at the house of a Mabel Ma Bell, 83, and her disabled sister, Florence Nettie Lang, aged 81. It's worth noting that he was driving around in stolen cars, so I'm sure he felt pretty confident in just driving around and looking for places to rob and or murder people.
Wow.
Ramirez found a hammer in the kitchen that he used to bludgeon first Nettie Lang, and he bound her in her bedroom, and then he bludgeoned Ma Bell. He found her, he bound her as well, and then used an electrical cord to shock her. There's not a whole lot of context on how he did that.
I mean,
But,
I have an idea, but I'm not going to say what my idea is just in case it is right, because I don't want to give anybody any ideas. But, let's just say it has to do with grounding.
probably.
If you know electrical terms.
Well, after he did that to Ma Bell, Ramirez then raped Nettie and afterwards used Ma Bell's lipstick to draw a quote-unquote satanic pentagram symbol on her thigh as well as on the walls of both bedrooms. So this is when we're gonna start seeing a lot more of the, supposed Satan worship and things of that nature. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put a nice little disclaimer out there. Pentagrams are not satanic. Okay?
Yeah.
An inverted pentagram is what the Satanic Temple has historically used. But for the most part, like pentagrams with the point up, those are called pentacles, and they're used for protection. Okay? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The sisters were found 2 days later, alive but unconscious and critically injured. Ma Bell died in the hospital from her injuries on July 15th, and Nettie died in August. So, Nettie died in August.
Okay.
Ramirez doesn't seem to have much of a pattern in the times of his killings, from what I can see so far. He's gone weeks between them, and then others is just mere hours.
Right, just a coincidence, like,
yeah,
I'm still got that itch.
Yeah, something like that, basically. Because, like, the next day, Ramirez drove the same stolen car he had drove to the home of the sisters to Burbank, and then broke into the home of Carol Kyle, 42. He held both Carol and her 11-year-old son at gunpoint, and then bound them with handcuffs before he proceeded to ransack their home. Ramirez released Carol and told her to take him to where the family's valuables were. He then raped her repeatedly. During the assault, Ramirez ordered her not to look at him and supposedly told her at one point that he would cut her eyes out.
Ugh.
Once finished, he bound Carol and her son together with handcuffs and fled the scene. So, I just want to know, where is he getting all of these damn handcuffs?
Yeah, and he had fucking thumb cuffs.
Right?
Where do you get thumb cuffs? Sex store.
I mean, maybe? But like, he's been binding so many victims with handcuffs, and I'm just wondering where he's getting all of the damn things. Yeah, because he's leaving them at the scene. Is there like a handcuff warehouse somewhere and he can just run down in his stolen cars and just slap some money on the table and no one's even batting an eye? Like, oh, just Ricky again. He's always losing his handcuffs. The guy should really keep a better watch on his things, but oh well.
Oh my God.
Like,
oh my God.
I mean, what? I figure at this point, it's got to be like public knowledge.
Yeah, boss talking.
I know, like fucking handcuffs.
I'm Ricky. What? Gonna wear a handcuff around?
God damn it.
Oh.
But still, like, if he keeps going to the same place or whatever,
right?
and
Someone's got to be a little suspicious.
That's
like,
suspicious.
People are dying, and they're being bound and stuff, and he's like, I don't know, like, is this guy who works at this handcuff superstore or something just like, I'm just minding my own business because honestly, Ricky's my best customer.
I mean,
is that what's going on?
Maybe shady business. Yeah, like, he keeps buying it from me, and I'm just gonna keep selling it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's that little rant. So,
I'm just kidding. I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah. All right, so it was on the night of July 2nd that Ramirez drove a stolen car, probably a different one, to Arcadia and randomly selected the house of Mary Louise Cannon, age 75. Ramirez broke into her home and found her sleeping in her bedroom. He bludgeoned her with a lamp and then stabbed her to death using a 10-inch butcher knife from her own kitchen. Ramirez kept stabbing her even after she was dead.
Oh, so he was just angry and just...
Yeah. It was only 3 days later that Ramirez broke into a home in Sierra Madre and found Whitney Bennett, 16, sleeping in her bedroom. He bludgeoned her with a tire iron. After failing to find a knife in the kitchen, Ramirez attempted to strangle Whitney with a telephone cord. In a later interview with Ramirez, he claimed he started seeing electrical sparks coming from the cord, and then Whitney began to breathe, and he fled the house believing that Jesus Christ had intervened to save her.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Wait, so he was a big advocate for Satanism and worship the devil apparently and stuff, and he was like, Jesus Christ is here? Oh no. You'd think that with him doing all the fucked up stuff that he's been doing, he'd be like, well, the devil's testing me, I gotta keep going, and instead of just like, cheese it, it's the cops.
But in this case, cheese it,
it's Jesus. Jesus. Jesus crackers.
Oh no. Ooh, okay, yeah. So like, I'm gonna call into question this whole satanic thing a little bit later, because there's still a whole bunch left that he does. Okay.
Yeah.
So Whitney survived her attack, but she did require 478 stitches to close the lacerations on her scalp.
Dang.
Yeah. Now, while examining the crime scene, police found another shoe print, just like the others, from other crime scenes on Whitney's comforter. It was with that shoe print that the detectives agreed the child abductions and assaults and these horrific crimes were indeed being committed by one man. On July 7th, Ramirez burglarized another home in Monterey Park, that of Joyce Lucille Nelson, aged 60. Lucille was fast asleep on her living room couch, and Ramirez beat her to death by stomping on her face repeatedly.
Ugh.
Yeah. He stomped with such force that the imprint of his shoe was left behind on her face.
Oh, God.
The same shoe print was found in 2 previous murders. So they've got that shoe print, they've got the one at Whitney's, they've got other shoe prints, and like I didn't put this in earlier, but there was a case where a young boy was abducted and taken to a construction site, and that day they had poured concrete, and so they had a really good casting case, whatever, of his shoe. So like they've even got that, and it's nice and in concrete, you know?
Yeah.
Ramirez then just went cruising through 2 other neighborhoods and then decided to return to Monterey Park and chose the home of Sophie Dickman, 63. He assaulted and handcuffed Sophie at gunpoint. Ramirez attempted to rape her, stole her jewelry, and after she swore to him that he had taken everything of value, he supposedly told her to, quote unquote, swear to Satan.
Ugh.
Yeah. It was 2 weeks later, on July 20th, when Ramirez purchased a machete before driving a stolen Toyota to Glendale. Now, the make of this car is important. You see, after the police determined that all these attacks around the city were likely done by one assailant, they started looking into other similar cases from the same time frame. One case that raised some alarm bells was an attempted abduction near Eagle Rock, Los Angeles. A young woman fought off a would-be abductor who drove away in a Toyota. Moments later, another police officer spotted the Toyota committing a traffic violation. But after he pulled over, the suspect escaped on foot leaving the car behind.
So, like, a truck Toyota or like...
I don't know. It just said Toyota. I'm assuming it was a car, because after I watched more of the Night Stalker series on Netflix, which I highly recommend.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a car.
Okay.
That they show.
Okay.
Before the suspect ran, though, he did draw a pentagram into the dust on the windshield.
Of course he did.
Yeah, because why not? Oh, it's just girly things. Just, serial killer things.
Remember you doing hot girl shit.
Yeah. So, Carrillo and Salerno tracked down that stolen Toyota to a nearby impound lot. They requested to print the car, but sadly, they couldn't access the vehicle for weeks. And in the meantime, whoever this person was still on the loose. You see what I mean? That there seems to be no rhyme or reason to his attacks. Yeah. It seemed like he was doing most of this for valuables to sell so he could support his drug habit, but at the same time, he would just sometimes kill multiple people on the same day, and then the very next day, he would kill someone again. And then it's like he just goes in, and some people he just kills. And it's not like he's really ransacking their home or anything as he did in previous murders.
It's just like an urge, yeah.
Yeah. The media coverage about all these different killings and assaults definitely had the citizens scared that they, or just about anyone, could be the next victim. People started calling into police about seeing people prowling around and seeing suspicious people in their neighborhoods. It bogged down the lines of the LAPD, and it was hard sifting through all of these tips to find anything that could be accurate. Weeks had gone by before the detectives could look at the car, and by the time they did, any fingerprints inside had been eroded away. By heat and humidity of the LA summer. But they did find one grain of hope in a business card for a local dentist in Chinatown. Police paid a visit to this dentist's office and discovered that their suspect had been there just 5 days earlier. He was using the alias Richard Minna, and of course gave a fake address. The dentist gave the police the x-rays showing a severely impacted tooth. Now, they thought that this was going to be their, big breakthrough.
Yeah.
Yes, because they'll be able to, the police thought that they would be able to stake out the dentist's office and just wait for him to come back. Because I don't know if you've ever had tooth pain, but it's like a whole different level of pain. They figured he would be back to get this severely impacted tooth extracted. So they, of course, set up surveillance. It's like a sting operation. They're just waiting. And it was all in vain. He did not return. In Glendale on July 20th, like I said earlier, he chose the home of Layla Kneiding, K-N-E-I-D-I-N-G, Kneiding,
Maybe.
66, and her husband, Maxon, 68. Ramirez broke into their home and bust into the sleeping couple's bedroom, where he proceeded to hack them with the newly purchased machete. Ramirez killed them with shots to the head with the same .22 caliber handgun. Once they were dead, he decided to further mutilate their bodies. With the machete before he went ahead and robbed their house of any and all valuables he could. He quickly fenced the goods. That means he sold them to someone who knew they were buying stolen goods. So, again, I know you're a criminal buying stolen goods, but do you have any questions of where these goods came from, my guy?
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, not my problem. Free crap, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I mean, it's not free if he's buying the stolen goods.
Well, you know what I mean.
So, after he fenced the goods, Ramirez then drove to Sun Valley, Los Angeles, and broke into the home of the... I am going to butcher this. Kovanath family. He shot the sleeping Chanarong, 32, in the head, killing him instantly, then repeatedly raped and beat Somkid, 32, the wife. He bound the couple's 8-year-old son before dragging Somkid around the house to tell him the location of any and all valuables, which he, of course, stole. During this whole ordeal, Ramirez demanded that Somkid swear to Satan that she wasn't hiding any money from him. We're starting to see, like, more and more of this from Ramirez. The symbols and the swearing to Satan bit. Like, I'm not sure if he actually believed and thought he was doing this in worship of Satan, or if he was just doing it more of a shock value, since this is like during the time of the whole satanic panic situation.
Oh, it is during the 80s.
Yeah, it's during the 80s. So, like, could he be doing this just to incite more fear in his victims, or make things a little more sensationalized?
I could see that.
Now, another shoe print was found at this scene, which again matched all the past shoe prints they had found at all the other crime scenes. It was on August 6th that Ramirez drove to Northridge and broke into the home of Chris Peterson, 30, and his wife, Virginia Peterson, 27. He crept into the bedroom, and Virginia woke up, startled, and Ramirez shot her in the face with a .25 caliber semi-automatic handgun.
Where's he getting all these guns?
I don't know. Like, he's been using the same .22, and it's all of a sudden in this, like, you're gonna find out it's a botched robbery. He switches to a .25.
Yeah, because I remember hearing 22 earlier, now a 25.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Tons of .22. Like, he was using .22, and then all of a sudden in this one, he's switched to a .25, and that seems to be the one he used for the remainder. He then shot Chris in the neck and attempted to flee. But Chris fought back while avoiding being hit by 2 more shots from Ramirez during the struggle before Ramirez could escape. Thankfully, the couple survived their injuries. It was around this time that the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner dubbed the killer the Night Stalker, and the name stuck.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So, before then, he was called, like, the Valley Intruder, and that seemed to be the one that was used most often through media, but the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner is the one who gave him the title Night Stalker. Alright, so he's now the Night Stalker. That's the name that stuck, obviously, because even today we're calling him the Night Stalker. 2 nights later, Ramirez drove another stolen car to the Diamond Bar and chose the home of Sakina Abuwath, 27, and her husband, Elias Abuwath.
Or is it Elias?
It might be Elias, Elyas.
Probably.
Elias? Maybe. Okay. I don't know. I just know they were the next victims.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was sometime after 2:30 a.m. when Ramirez broke into their home and went to the master bedroom. he shot and killed Elias with his .25 caliber handgun. Then he handcuffed and beat Sakina while forcing her to reveal the locations of the family's valuables. And then he raped her. During her assault, Ramirez apparently demanded that she swear to Satan that she would not scream during his assaults. Then the couple's 3-year-old son entered the room. Ramirez tied the child up and continued to rape Sakina.
Ugh.
He left the house, both Sakina and her son alive, and she untied her son and sent him to the neighbors for help. Like, I don't know if your 3-year-old would even be able to go over to the neighbors and ask for help. Yeah.
My little one would be way too flippin' scared. Like, Mommy, what's going on? Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, Ramirez had been closely following the news coverage of his crimes because, you know, serial killers and sickos like to do that. They like seeing the panic and all the ruckus and everything that's going on in the media to deal with them because they know what they're doing. Yeah. And he chose to leave LA and headed to San Francisco. It was on August 18th that Ramirez entered the home of Peter, 66, and his wife, Barbara Pan, 62. So, like, it's Peter Pan and Barbara Pan.
Oh my God, no.
Yes. Much like in previous crimes, he shot the husband in the head, killing him instantly, and then he proceeded to beat and rape Barbara before shooting her in the head as well and left her for dead. At the crime scene, Ramirez used lipstick to scrawl a pentagram and the phrase "Jack the Knife" on the bedroom wall. He left another shoe print, and the detectives were able to quickly identify as the same one, and apparently this shoe wasn't too common at the time.
Now, what was it called? It wasn't like an A6,
No, it's like an Aveo. Well, no, not an Aveo. That's a something else. AVIA, Avea.
Or Avia, something along those lines. Yeah, like some weird name brand I've never heard of in my entire life.
Yeah. Well, this, I mean, we've never heard of it in our lifetimes, but even then, it wasn't a very common shoe. Carrillo and Salerno contacted the manufacturer of the shoes and were able to retrieve the soles. So, they had, you know, basically a copy of the soles, and upon discovery of the make and the distribution across the U.S., they discovered that only 6 of them existed in the men's size 11.5.
What?
The same as the suspect size. With 5 of them shipped to locations in Arizona and 1 shipped to a shoe store in L.A., it was evident that the one pair of its size and kind in the state of California,
baby,
belonged to the suspect. Now, this is all really great information to have, right? Especially if you're looking to, like, nail your guy.
Yeah, but now I gotta figure out exactly who it is.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, these crimes happened in San Francisco. And the mayor of San Francisco, Dianne Feinstein, gave a press conference shortly after the Pan murders, and in it, she revealed for the first time that the police had tied the cases together with the shell casings and the shoe print.
Okay.
This leak absolutely pissed off the detectives, as they knew the killer would be following the news coverage and as such would give the suspect time to destroy crucial evidence.
You're like, well, time to get some new shoes.
And Ramirez, who was absolutely following the news coverage of his murders, dropped his sneakers over the side of the Golden Gate Bridge that night. Yeah. He only remained in the area for a few more days before he headed back to the Los Angeles area. On August 24th, Ramirez traveled 76 miles south of Los Angeles in a stolen orange Toyota to Mission Viejo, and that night he arrived at the home of James Romero Jr., 45, who had just returned from a family vacation in Mexico, but his son, James Romero III, age 13, happened to be awake. Little James went outside to get his pillow from inside the truck, which was locked, and when he was outside, he heard a rustling noise and assumed it was an animal. He went to investigate, but didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Little James then went into his garage and began working on his mini bike before hearing footsteps outside the house. This kid is pretty smart because after hearing the footsteps, he thought there might be a prowler and went to his bedroom to look out the window and observed Ramirez. So he saw him. He then went and woke his parents up, and Ramirez fled the scene. Little James rushed outside and noted the color, make, and style of the car, as well as a partial license plate number. James Romero Jr. contacted the police with all the information, believing that his son had chased away a thief.
I'm really proud of that kid because
Heck yeah.
a lot of times kids nowadays can't remember their address or their cousins' names or whatever, let alone all that information.
Well, I mean, in a high stakes situation, I think I would try and remember everything that I could as well.
Oh yeah, I mean I would try, but
Yeah.
but we have ADHD and it's kind of hard for us to remember some stuff.
Yeah. All right. So, with that attack thwarted, Ramirez then broke into the home of Bill Carnes, age 30, and his fiancée, Inez Erickson, age 29. As usual, he entered the sleeping couple's room and awakened Bill with the cocking of the gun before shooting it 3 times into his head before turning his attention to Inez. He identified himself as the Night Stalker and forced her to swear she loved Satan as he beat her with his fists and bound her with neckties from the closet. After he stole all he could find, Ramirez dragged Inez to another room and raped her. He then demanded cash and jewelry and made her swear on Satan there was no more. Before leaving the home, he told Inez, "Tell them the Night Stalker was here." Inez untied herself and went to the neighbor's house for help. Surgeons removed 2 of the 3 bullets from Carnes' head, and he survived his injuries.
No way.
Yeah. Bill Carnes survived, man.
Was he normal?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Oh man, I kind of want to see if he was normal after that.
Wow, Jess. Just...
No, like, was he able to have function of his legs and his motor skills? And
I don't...
That's amazing.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing, but at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't say it here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to look it up.
Inez gave a detailed description of her assailant to investigators, and police obtained a cast of Ramirez's footprint from the Romero house. The stolen Toyota was found abandoned on August 28th in Koreatown, Los Angeles, and police obtained a single fingerprint from the rearview mirror, despite obvious and very careful efforts to wipe the car down of his prints.
Good.
The print was positively identified as belonging to Richard Ramirez, who was described by police as a 25-year-old drifter from Texas with a long rap sheet that included many arrests for traffic and illegal drug violations. The identification of Ramirez's print was described as a near miracle, as the system used to identify him was recently installed, as well as the fact that the system contained the fingerprints of criminals born after July 1st of 1960, only 2 months before Ramirez was born.
Dang.
Yeah. On August 29th of 1985, law enforcement officials decided to release a mugshot of Ramirez from a 1984 arrest for auto theft to the media. So like I said in part 1, he had, been arrested twice previously, supposedly, for auto theft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess they just needed the fingerprint to tie everything together or something. So,
confirm?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
And, they released it to the media, and at a police press conference, it was announced, "We know who you are now, and soon everyone else will. There will be no place you can hide." Here's my favorite part of the whole Night Stalker case. We are down to the last few days, okay? On August 30th, Ramirez took a bus to Tucson, Arizona to visit his brother, not knowing he had become the lead story pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
After failing to meet his brother due to him not being home, he returned to LA early on the morning of August 31st. He walked past police officers who were staking out the bus terminal in hopes of catching the killer should he attempt to flee on an outbound bus, and then he walked into a convenience store in East Los Angeles. After noticing a group of elderly Hispanic women fearfully identifying him as El Matador, Ramirez saw his face on the front page of the newspaper La Opinión, with the headline calling him Invader Nocturno, in English, Night Invader, and fled the store in a panic. After running across the Santa Ana freeway, he attempted to carjack an unlocked Ford Mustang, but was pulled out by angry residents Faustino Pinion and Jose Burgon. Ramirez ran across the street and attempted to take car keys from Angelina de la Torre. Her husband, Manuel de la Torre, witnessed the attempt and struck Ramirez over the head with a fence post in the pursuit.
Oh my God!
A group of over 10 residents, including Jose's sons, formed and chased Ramirez down Hubbard Street in Boyle Heights. They soon restrained Ramirez and relentlessly beat him.
Oh
yeah.
Street justice.
Street justice. At around 8 a.m., police were called over a disturbance in the area with few other details. Police quickly arrived on Hubbard Street and took a severely beaten Ramirez into custody.
Damn straight.
I love seeing the video of his capture because you just can tell he's had the shit beat out of him.
Good. He deserves it. Sick fuck.
Yeah. Now, while Ramirez was arrested in 1985, his trial didn't start until 1988. There were a number of things that caused the delay, but one of them was because he kept changing lawyers and then accusing people on the jury of being racist. And
Okay.
the process to get a jury dragged out for 6 months just to select the jurors as well as 12 alternates before the trial could even start.
I mean, it would be hard to find any people that were neutral or didn't know about the case because, it was freaking everywhere.
Yeah, they tried to file motions to get his case tried in other towns.
They still fucking knew about it.
Yeah, everybody knew about it. So, At his first court appearance, he raised a hand with a pentagram drawn on it and yelled, "Hail Satan."
Flail Nobra.
Yeah. On August 3rd of 1988 in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Times reported that some jail employees overheard Ramirez planning to shoot the prosecutor with a gun, which he intended to have smuggled into the courtroom. Consequently, a metal detector was installed outside, and intensive searches were conducted on anybody entering the courtroom. On August 14th, the trial was interrupted because one of the jurors, a Phyllis Singletary, did not arrive at the courtroom. Later that day, she was found shot to death in her apartment.
The what?
Yeah. The jury was terrified, wondering if Ramirez had somehow directed this event from, like, inside his prison cell, and whether or not he could reach the other jurors. However, it was ultimately determined that Ramirez was not responsible for Phyllis Singletary's death, as she was shot and killed by her boyfriend, who later committed suicide with the same weapon in a hotel.
Well,
yeah. The alternate juror who replaced Singletary was too frightened to return to her home. So, like, she's like, yeah, cool, I'll be here, but, like, also I'm not leaving here. On September 20th of 1989, Ramirez was convicted of all 43 charges. That's 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. During the penalty phase of the trial on November 7th of 1989, he was sentenced to death in California's gas chamber. He stated to reporters after the death sentence, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland." The trial cost relatively around $1.8 million, which at the time made it the most expensive murder trial in the history of California, until it was surpassed by the O.J. Simpson case in 1994.
Oh man, I can't wait to cover the OJ case. I dibs.
Okay, fine. You have dibs, man. By the time of the trial, Ramirez had fans who were writing him letters and paying him visits. Beginning in 1985, Doreen Lioy? L-I-O-Y? Lioy?
Oh.
Wrote Ramirez nearly 75 letters during his incarceration. In 1988, he proposed to Doreen, and on October 3rd, 1996, they were married in California's San Quentin State Prison. Yep. For many years before Ramirez's death, Doreen stated that she would commit suicide when Ramirez was executed. But by the time of his death in 2013, Ramirez was engaged to a 23-year-old writer.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How can he get these girlfriends and fiancés ugh.
Girl.
I mean, I know it's like some kind of there's a name for it.
Yeah, where women just love serial killers and stuff like that. I don't know. It's weird. I have a feeling that it has something to do with the fact that you're like, oh,
I can fix him.
They're a monster, but they aren't going to kill me because I'm their true love. Like, I mean, I get it, girl. Dark romance. Okay, cool. I would burn the world for you. But also, he would probably just kill you if he were not caught.
Yeah.
So, this is not some kind of dark romance. This is not, Haunting Adeline or anything like that, okay? It is not. On August 7th of 2006, Ramirez's first round of state appeals ended unsuccessfully when the California Supreme Court upheld his convictions and death sentence. On September 7th of 2006, the California Supreme Court denied his request for a rehearing. Ramirez had additional appeals pending until the time of his death. Ramirez died of complications secondary to B-cell lymphoma as Ramirez died of complications secondary to B-cell lymphoma at Marion General Hospital in Greenbrier, California on June 7th of 2013. He also had been affected by chronic substance abuse and chronic hepatitis C viral infection.
Well, it's probably from, all that,
Yeah.
who's a what's it's not going to say what it is, but you know what?
His body was not claimed, so it was cremated. So, he may have been engaged to a 13-year-old writer, and he apparently was married to a Doreen, but neither one of them wanted his body.
Oof.
Yeah.
He's the love of my life. Ugh, I don't want that.
Yeah, I'm gonna commit suicide when he dies in the gas chamber. Well, girl, he did not die in a gas chamber. He died in a hospital. But that's it for the final part of our Night Stalker case. So, it's much longer than part 1.
Twice
Definitely.
as long, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, because Jessica did not want to do a part 3.
Hey. Come on. But yeah. But gosh, dang.
I guess when I cover, other really high name, well-known serial killers, I'll just be like, so this is gonna be our little series. It's a short series that we're doing. And I guess it'll just be like a couple episodes back to back of just me telling you all about the crazy, horrific details about
Man.
John Wayne Gacy and the truck stop killer and the toy box killer. Oof, man, the toy box killer. Wow.
Yeah. Well, definitely gonna need a palate cleanser after that.
Oh yeah, no, because Richard Ramirez was a fucked up individual.
God, yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess now we can go ahead and lay this one to rest, and hopefully
Ramirez isn't resting.
that's what I was about to say, dude. I was about to be like,
Oh,
man, I hope
great minds
Richard
think alike.
Ramirez is, having pineapples shoved up his ass in hell with Hitler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for us today, Gravediggers. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, and by the time this one comes out, we'll be just past Thanksgiving?
I think so.
Yeah, so I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. If you had any, Thanksgiving drama, tell us. We're petty. We like the drama. We don't want to be a part of it.
But
we like hearing about it.
Yeah, I'll drink the tea, but I won't spill the tea.
Girl, I will spill the tea. I don't want to be the tea. I want to drink it and I want to spill the tea. I do not want to be the tea itself.
Yeah, no. I'll drink the tea, I'll listen, but
Oh, so you don't want to share the tea? You don't
No,
wanna...
no. I like to sit there and listen and be inconspicuous.
Oh, well, fill my cup
I want to
up.
know what's going on. I just don't want to spread it around so people think I'm a gossip. But I want to know the gossip. You know what I'm saying?
Gossip is the only reason it's got a negative connotation. Here is your...
No, we don't have time for that.
No,
we don't have time for that.
We do.
All right.
We
Love
do.
you, Gravediggers. We're thankful for you. Have a happy and safe holiday season. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you heard, please feel free to follow, like, rate, and review Tales from the Graves podcast on your preferred listening platform.
We also would like to know what you think and what topic you suggest we unearth next. Email us at talesfromthegravespod@gmail.com or reach out to us at Tales from the Graves podcast on Instagram.
And if you have Discord, join us in the graveyard. The link is in our bio on our Instagram as well as this listening platform. Thanks again, Gravediggers.
The police paid a... God fucking shit, motherfucker. Fuck.